since the first sod was turned, and that's 10 years ago. At one stage I got a hive of native bees at home, and then thought, well, that'd be a good idea at the gardens.
Oh,
So
so you had native bees yourself.
I had native bees myself, and so the obvious progression from there was for us to branch out into having honeybees, which we did. Originally using an old French system of hive called the Ware system.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
right. Is that because of Francois being here?
No, it was more because of Matthew Wunsch, who's on our committee, and he had Ware hives of his own, and so we made the hive boxes up ourselves and proceeded down that track. But that particular system is now, it doesn't satisfy requirements as far as tending to the hives and doing the things that need to be done.
Yeah.
So this is where Bill
great.
Came in with his agreed to help out and change us over to the Langstroth hive system.
The which system?
Langstroth. I think that's how we
pronounce
it, is it?
Close enough,
which required the know. Bill joined up. He had a plot, but gardening really wasn't Bill's forte compared with fixing things, making things, and bees. So thank goodness Bill came along. His knowledge of bees has been invaluable. Bill might even tell us where it all started.
Well, I've had bees since I was about 14, and an old gentleman in Walker Mills gave them to me after sussing me out and making sure I wasn't frightened of them and could handle them. And so I had improvised veils and improvised clothing, and I had one very cranky beehive that got to me once and got under my veil and through the gaps in my button-up shirts. And I had my mother pulled out over 100 stings out of me.
Oh,
I wasn't very well that weekend.
100? Did you blow up?
Oh, just didn't feel very good. I was all right. But
wow.
Yeah, so I got rid of that hive. And the other ones were good, they were nice and placid, and I got some better gear over time.
Right.
And I've had them on and off all my life.
What did you build up to as far as...
Well, one stage there I got a bit carried away, and I had over 60 hives at one time.
Wow.
But there was too many hives. I didn't have the knowledge to handle 60
So you were doing it professionally, you were a beekeeper then?
Yeah, I was there for 12 months or so, but you need a lot of knowledge of trees and flowering. You've got to have a lot of sites to put your bees, which takes years to find people that'll let you put your bees in there. So I only had them for 12 months or so, and I was working full time at the time.
Yeah.
So it was too much.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
Wow,
I had a job, I was only working 4 days a week, so I had a bit of time, but it was too much. So I cut back, but I've always had them. But now there's more diseases and pests, and it's a lot harder now than it was back then.
More complicated.
Yeah, you've got all the hive beetles and American foul brood, and they're worried about this varroa mite coming in, and so you've got to do all this testing of the hives to make sure you haven't got them. And keep what you have got under control, because everyone's got hive beetle. You've just got to keep them under control.
Right. Yeah, and the new diseases, the new threats are so much more scary, aren't they? Because if you don't look after your bees properly, then the whole country could suffer.
Well, you look at America and most places overseas, how they suffer from all these pests. They lose half their hives or more every year, and
golly.
It's going to get in for sure.
It will
Yes,
happen.
I
It's
think so.
inevitable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it did. You get in at Townsville, didn't it?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
true.
Off a ship, wasn't it?
Hives offer
Oh.
shipping.
Or a container.
Yeah, from Papua New Guinea. Yeah. So, fortunately for me, I've been trying to pick up information and extend my limited knowledge on bees via Bill.
You're too modest.
And,
He's the head man now.
He certainly is not. You just realise how much you don't know. But by doing is the doing things rather than reading or looking at a
Yes,
TV screen
yes.
is really the way to learn.
Much better to learn from a
And,
person, side
like,
by side.
we went into one of the hives the other day and did a full checkout, and that's something that I found very, very valuable.
Right. So checking for all the diseases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pests and diseases. And we did a sugar shake.
We did
That's the
even
first time
try-
I've ever done a sugar shake.
Yeah, Kevin was telling me a little bit. Do you want to explain that to people?
Well, Kevin can. He made the apparatus.
Yes, well, it now is compulsory to test for varroa mite, even though we don't have them in Australia yet.
Right.
So
Is that the one that could
that's
kill
the
everything?
yeah,
That's the really bad one. Yeah.
So we had our first attempt at doing this sugar shake test, which evidently makes the varroa mite release itself from the bees, and the idea is picking this up as early as possible in the countries.
Right. So how big is a varroa mite?
Well, it latches onto a bee. You know how big a bee is, and it just. What was the size? They didn't say how big they were.
They're
very
they latch
small.
on behind their head.
Yeah. You can
Like
see
a tick
them.
or something?
That's that sort of thing. Yeah.
Wow. And so what's the process? Because you sort of roll them and...
Roll them in the container in icing sugar.
Yeah.
And leave it for a while, and then shake out the results of that rolling,
Right.
and any varroa mite will be apparent, evidently.
Wow.
So
Wow. It's kind of like COVID protocols, isn't it? Like we have to be super careful so we don't have to have a lockdown of bees.
Yeah,
you
that's
can't actually
right.
lock bees down.
No,
so
it's pretty hard.
yeah.
they're really worried about this one because
Yeah.
the difference it's made to New Zealand, for example.
Right, it's
is,
in New Zealand, yeah. That's right, because we're the last continent, as you said, that doesn't have it. Amazing. Wow.
I'm not sure how the bees like it because you put 200 bees in this little bottle with
Holy.
a gauze lid on it with
Wow.
this sugar,
Yeah.
icing sugar, and then you roll them around and
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not sure how they like it.
yeah, if they find it like a disco or something.
Well, you put them back into the hive and they seem to be okay. So
Right. They didn't attack you for it.
no,
No more than usual.
What
were
weird
very
things are
sweet,
humans
weren't
doing
they?
to us today? They were sleepy, did you
they
say?
were sweet.
Sweet. Oh, you ate one?
They could have
Yeah,
done.
so our honey production here is being well received.
Yeah,
and,
I've bought some honey from your community gardens. It's
Yeah,
sitting
people come
proudly
in
on my
on-
shelf with a label. Ballina Community Garden.
Yeah, so it's good for the garden. It's an interest for people,
Yeah.
and as well as that, we get the bonus of very nice honey.
Honey, yeah, the pollination would make a big difference. And so native bees travel up to 500 metres, don't they?
Yes.
So my house would be within the range of the native bees. So
Pretty
when-
much.
Yes, that's
When
true.
my new natives are kind of flowering, do they pollinate non-natives much? Native bees?
Oh, they
Oh,
take
yeah.
pollen from anything they
Yeah.
could get it from.
They
Yeah, they do, don't
they're
they?
used commercially. A chap who we got our native beehive from, Steve McGinnity, he takes his hives to blueberry plantations, to
blueberries,
avocado.
not just macadamias.
And
Right.
macadamias,
Yeah.
not just macadamias.
Yeah,
no.
right.
no.
Oh, they like blueberries
So
too.
I think avocados might even
Yeah,
come into
I
line
think
as
I've
far
heard of
as
that, yeah.
as far as using the native bees. He has a commercial business of probably over 800 native beehives.
Wow. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And they don't get the diseases
No, they
and
don't.
the problems that honeybees get.
But I went to a little native bee workshop, and he said that they can get something. There is a disease that native bees can get. Is that?
Oh,
That may well be true.
Yeah. But they don't get anything
But
like
they're not as sick
honeybees anyway.
as European bees.
No.
And what do you love the most about bees? What do you?
Oh, the stings would be pretty good.
Yes,
Makes you do a dance.
You don't have to make much of a mistake to, like forgetting to close an opening in your suit
You did that
to
too.
suffer the consequences.
Every beekeeper must have a story of hay getting badly stung.
I just think the seemingly complex nature to their life and their work habits is quite incredible.
Yeah, just the way they've all got their little jobs and the dances they do to show which direction and how far the pollen and the nectar is, and it's just so complex.
Fascinating.
So complex. And the queen's role, like, you'd think the queen's the boss, but she's not really.
No.
She does all the laying, but if she gets too old and doesn't lay properly, or they don't like her, they'll kill her.
She's gone.
Yeah, she's gone.
Yeah, we should do that.
It's rather.
Sorry, you're not doing your job. You're out.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it's.
Don't film these guys. You'll break it. You'll break the computer.
Oh.
Could lead to bigger things.
Yeah, it'll be the movie in Hollywood.
Big screen next time.
Yeah. The thing about I suppose both lots of these can be hives can be split. The very interesting to see a native beehive split if the hive is strong. They handle it no trouble at all.
Because they're quite beautiful, aren't they, when you open the hive?
Very much so. The spiral formation.
Yeah, it's really unusual, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And we have harvested sugarbag honey, the small amount of sugarbag honey
Yes,
that's
I was
produced.
here, I think. I'd only just nearly joined. I was here and I saw the little jars.
Yes. And we got a bit over a kilo, I suppose, from the two hives that. And
which is a tiny
something
amount compared to a
different.
European bee, but I know they produce such a small amount. I thought a kilo was quite a lot.
It's
worth hundreds of dollars
Yes,
a kilo.
yes.
$250 to $300 a kilo.
You could buy a house in Byron after a while.
But yes, and a flavour that is really something else.
Right,
Delightful to have a bit of sugarbag honey on top of vanilla ice cream. It's a real treat.
Yeah. Do you like eating it, Phil? Sugarbag honey?
It's different.
It's a different flavour to normal honey.
Yeah, and I don't mind it. I haven't tried it on ice cream, so I can't judge that. But it's not something I'd go
It's
out
not
of
your
my way.
first choice for something yummy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anything else you want to... so obviously you guys became friends over bees in a sense.
Without
that's sort of how it all started.
Yeah, we probably became close via Bill helping out with the bees when we really needed help in changing over from one hive to another. But I did.
So did you say how did Bill find out about that you needed some help? But it's just
I was
Bill
in
had
the
joined up.
gardens.
Yeah, Bill had
You
joined
were.
up prior to
Right.
that. Yes. And
I've been here for.
Bill had some interesting corn that he wanted to grow. Some heritage type corn.
The coloured corn, all the purples and the reds and the whites.
Yeah.
But as I said before, Bill's vegetable gardening isn't up to the standard of his beaker.
The rhubarb was all right.
Yeah, he didn't have the interest actually, but give him something to make, design, build, fix up.
Oh yeah, because you got.
Yes, Bill had quite a large number of these.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
In his garage.
Well, we used to live out of town. I had more room, and then we
Right.
moved into town, and I had to get rid of some before we moved. And
Right.
after we got here, I still had too many, so I had to get rid of a few more. Then I got a bit crook, so
Yeah.
I couldn't go around the shows like I used to, so I got rid of some more. I just kept a couple of favourites.
Yeah, that must have been hard.
And if
Yeah.
he needed a part because you couldn't just buy parts for them, well, he'd make it.
You'd
Yeah,
make it.
yeah,
I had a
resourceful.
lathe and all that. And
Those are the skills we all need again.
Oh,
You know, as we move into a world where we want to have a lower impact and where not everything's going to be laid on as
yeah,
much.
fix it.
We need
It
those
amazes
things.
me.
Recycle it.
In fact, I've just bought a book called Frugal Hedonism.
What's it called?
Frugal Hedonism.
Oh, yeah.
And it's talking about the joy of, instead of, we tend to, when we want a bit of a hit of excitement, we go buy something. But the joy of actually fixing something from your own resourcefulness is a different kind of pleasure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is. That's what I enjoyed most. It wasn't the having the stuff or taking it to the show. It was getting this whole bit of stuff up and running again.
and running
making
again.
the
Yeah.
parts or finding the parts.
Yeah.
And
Pumps
yeah.
and
It's like being a magical, like a mechanical magician.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't know what the part was, it's missing off the engine. So you'll find a book with that machine in it and you'll take some photos of it. Then you'll scale it against something on the engine that you know, and then you'll know how big this part
Right.
was. And
Right.
so a lot of detective work.
Yeah, right. You put it, yeah.
Yes,
Anyway.
well, if you want to take a whole box of honey off,
Yeah.
there's a lot of bees in there, and there's different ways you can pull out each frame, and you can shake them off and blow them off. Or you can use a clearing board, so you lift that box of honey off, you put this board on which has got little one-way gates on the bottom of it, and over a period of a couple of days all the bees go down and they can't get back. So you can lift the box of honey off without any
Got
bees
ya.
in it. Or
Right.
practically
Well, not
no
many.
bees. Yeah.
Right.
And it makes it a lot easier.
So you like
and it's
that?
easy on the bees too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And easy on the operator.
Yeah. Right. It just takes a bit of patience.
Yeah, just got to wait for a day or two till
Yep.
they all go down through
Go
these
down
little
through
traps
the-
and they can't get back. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've got to lift that off when I get home.